Arkansas River, carved between the tall peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Nearly 1,000 feet above the river's wild rapids sits one of the world's most famous bridges. The Royal Gorge Bridge. Hanging high above one of Colorado's deepest canyons. It was 2 years ago the clouds and fog replaced with flames and smoke of a wildfire.
Okay, right off your nose, about a mile out.
Fire engulfed the park. Flames surrounded the bridge.
Your exit's going to be a left turn out of here, back towards Pueblo.
The fire devastated the park.
It was, just hard to believe. I mean, hard to visualize.
Destroying almost every structure. One of the few exceptions,
the steel structure, infrastructure, and everything was in perfect condition.
The world-famous Royal Gorge Bridge. 2 years ago, all we could do was wait, and it would be 24 hours before we knew the Royal Gorge Bridge survived a wildfire. Thanks for joining me. I'm Eric Connert. While the bridge survived, 48 structures in the park were destroyed. The visitor center, restaurants, all bathrooms, and the aerial tram and incline railway. The fire exploded, fueled by high winds and dry conditions.
I saw this tremendous plume of smoke just on the other side of the bridge, back about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from the south end of the bridge.
It was a drive to work Mike Bandera will never forget.
My two-way radio, it was going crazy.
As GM and Vice President, he lives and breathes for the park every day.
I knew it was bad.
In less than an hour, he scrambled to evacuate the park.
At that time, we probably had 1,200 in the park and, a couple of hundred employees. So we got all 1,400 evacuated very quickly.
At that point, all he could do is watch and wait.
We had a perfect view of the bridge and the gorge and the surrounding area, and we just had to sit there and watch it for 24 hours before we were able to come back in.
And when he was finally able to go back in,
it wasn't just some structure standing here and there. It was just flat on the ground and still burning, still smoldering.
It was profoundly sad. It was really more than a fire. It incinerated things and liquefied them. I'd never seen anything like that.
Beth Fisher's grandfather was chief engineer who built the bridge 86 years ago.
It was just amazing to see the carousel they were liquefied.
The devastation hitting hard for those whose livelihood is the park.
The entire community was affected. Every person that lives in this area has been impacted by the fire. It's a trickle-down problem, and because the area creates a lot of revenue from tourism.
48 of 52 structures destroyed. The devastation forcing the park and bridge to shut down indefinitely. It would be 2 months before we would be allowed in to see the damage up close. 7 News reporter Mark Stewart was the first person granted access, and here's what he saw when he went in.
A demolition project in the middle of a Colorado treasure. For the first time, we're seeing the tram car, the trolley, and the back entranceway. Some of the landmarks lost when a fire swept across the terrain, making up the Royal Gorge Park. This is what the park looked like in 2011. This is what it looked like 1 year later, 2 months after the fire. Stairs leading to nowhere. Picnic tables, now skeletons. 48 of the 52 buildings, including the gift shops and restaurants, gone. Yet, despite some broken boards, the nearly 85-year-old suspension bridge, one of the highest in the world, survived.
We replaced about 100 planks.
Peggy Gare has worked here for the past 16 years.
When you got here days after and saw that the bridge survived, how did that make you feel?
It was one of the most patriotic moments, and I know that sounds a little corny, but to see this bridge standing, it was like what man made is still standing. It was just awesome.
The goal is to replace as much as possible, including the animals that sat on the carousel. The total price tag for this project, at least $30 million. It is covered by insurance.
There you go.
Park veteran Larry Lallemand is helping with the rebuild.
What do you see the future of this park looking as?
Well, it's really hard to say. See it as being a lot more modernized and hopefully blending in with the scenery and stuff.
Some parts of the park did make it. The famed incline train and the below-ground railroad are both still intact. This theater is still standing, along with the dinosaur sculpture and Dippin' Dot sign. What's most important, the bridge is still standing. Work continues to get the rest of the park back up and running.
The bridge will come back. The park will be open.
Cleaning up nature's mess with help from mankind. In Fremont County, Mark Stewart, 7 News.
Isn't it just amazing to see how the fire destroyed so much, but then left the theater and signs and bridge practically untouched? The Royal Gorge fire, just one of many wildfires to hit Colorado hard that summer. By the time August rolled around, 2013 was one of the worst fire seasons our state has ever experienced.
Okay, right off your nose, about a mile out.
The police showed up and said, "You got to go now."
I knew when I left I would never see that again.
June of 2013, dry and windy conditions statewide fueled wildfires across Colorado.
I could start seeing ash falling on my deck and stuff, and I decided to get on out.
The summer's largest wildfire was actually made up of 3 smaller fires, all sparked by lightning. Known as the West Fork Complex Fire, it burned more than 100,000 acres of steep beetle-kill terrain near Wolf Creek Pass.
Direct attack option is not there.
After nearly 2 months, the fire was finally out. Only one structure was lost.
Very quickly, it started building.
Threatening Grand Lake and Rocky Mountain National Park was the Big Meadows Fire.
All of a sudden, everything kind of turned orange.
Another fire sparked by lightning, crews were able to contain the blaze to under 1,000 acres.
Even though we have a line all the way around the fire, it is nowhere near contained.
Also started by lightning was the Lime Gulch Fire.
Our dream home, 37 acres charred.
It burned hundreds of acres, including some areas impacted by the 2012 Lower North Fork Fire in Jefferson County. Charring more than 13,000 acres was the East Peak Fire near Walsenburg. Started by lightning, it quickly spread because of dry conditions and high winds. The fire ultimately destroyed 11 structures. The most destructive fire in state history.
Right now, it's scary. You know, yesterday it was scary.
The Black Forest Fire burned near Colorado Springs.
People are not losing their houses, they're losing their lives and dreams and what they've worked for forever.
2 people were killed, 511 homes were destroyed, more than 14,000 acres burned.
Nothing stopped this. This has just moved so fast.
How the fire started has never been determined, but investigators believe it was human caused. Imagine if a wildfire could be detected before it burns out of control. Well, there's new technology that could do just that. Coming up, how firefighters are tracking the danger from the skies. Also, hurting everyone's bottom line. How 2 years of rebuilding impacted the area around the Royal Gorge. Plus, new and improved, the awesome attractions that are brand new to the park and unlike anything in the U.S. After the fire, the rebuilding started right away at the Royal Gorge Bridge and Park, from demolishing to planning and eventually rebuilding. It was a 2-year process to get the park up and running again.
We started demolition immediately, and it took June through November, to demo the park.
A 6-month process to remove the ash, wood, melted steel, and trash.
The challenge to put back the theme park and the ways that people come to enjoy it was ahead.
All along,
January 31st of 14, we started construction right here.
The wheels were in motion to replace what was destroyed and make it better.
As we replaced them, we were going to improve them, higher capacity, better design, and and able to handle more guests.
And just as important as making things better was working quickly.
We definitely consider it one of the most visited attractions in the state.
And for southern Colorado, the Royal Gorge is the top attraction for tourists.
When the park closed, that was a really big hit for this region and for the state.
And that impact was felt by other businesses.
The campgrounds, were affected. The river rafters, the tour operators. I mean, this is one of the biggest draws. So, of course, when this isn't open and available to travelers, those businesses are going to see those remnant effects.
We had to get this park reopened, as quickly as we can, not only for the area, but for ourselves.
The impact of the Royal Gorge Park closing was something clearly visible when we visited Canyon City in the months after the fire. The loss of revenue forcing the town and many businesses to reinvent themselves in order to attract new business.
The first week after the fire, it was almost like the middle of winter time.
A lot of people probably changed their vacation.
It was so slow.
Because Colorado was on fire.
People weren't coming in general.
The heart of this community, tourism deeply affected.
It can't help but be down after you've got that many people that aren't coming here.
And with it, the economy of Canyon City.
And there are some businesses that are off 65%.
At the time of the fire, Doug Shane worked for the Canyon City Chamber of Commerce. In 2013, the summer traffic just wasn't as heavy as years past, and no traffic equals no spending, a hard fact felt across this tight-knit community.
All the people who didn't come down to see the bridge and come through the area and spend additional nights in the area was the main impact.
On this day in 2013, this is the lunch rush at Pizza Madness. The empty tables, a loud reminder of revenue lost.
During the summertime, it's significant. It's usually about 30% additional because of tourists.
The lodging community felt the brunt of the fire's effects almost immediately.
We saw a whole bunch of cancellations at that time. And of course, people just tremendously scared just to be around here.
The manager of the Best Western Canyon City, Teresa Bowman, says fear was the driving force behind their decline.
Fears of the fires and how they would reach through here. And then, of course, health risk with the smoke that was coming through here.
And those empty beds meant empty tax coffers all summer long.
It's only in these months, This is when people really count on some money coming in, maybe even to float them through the winter.
Jen Paxton owns a coffee shop and a sports bar next door.
A one-stop shop.
She says it's the locals that helped her stay afloat.
They're really, really die-hard loyal. So I think when they know that we're suffering, they kind of step it up and try and shop local and support us.
And making her reflect on how she does business year-round.
As a rule, really try to appeal to the locals anyway because they're bread and butter year-round.
Within 2 weeks of the fire, Canyon City launched new ads focusing on all the other activities in the area.
Rock climbing.
Fabulous river walk.
Riding the train.
A new bump track we just built for the kids.
And doing the rafting.
Hiking.
Biking. And
some of the greatest four-wheeling.
And the zip lining.
I'm glad that they're doing more to not just have all their eggs in one basket, and they're trying to do different stuff to attract people to Canyon City.
Nonetheless, it's the grand reopening of the bridge everyone in town is waiting for.
The reopening of that bridge, which has been around for so many years, is going to be a new exciting thing for everybody to see and see what they've done to change things.
I think it's going to be spectacular. They're getting some new rides and state-of-the-art. I think it's going to be awesome for us.
All new rides and all new things to do. Coming up, we'll show you some of the can't-miss attractions for anyone visiting the Royal Gorge. And trying to prevent future wildfires. We show you the new tool to stop a fire before it burns out of control. Did you know the Royal Gorge Bridge is the tallest bridge in the U.S.? In fact, until 2001, it was the tallest bridge in the world. That's just one of the reasons the bridge is so extraordinary. The fact engineers 86 years ago were able to accomplish such an amazing feat. Construction of the Royal Gorge Bridge began on June 5, 1929. The chief engineer on the project was George E. Cole.
He always referred to this as his masterpiece.
Beth Fisher is Cole's granddaughter. Growing up, the one thing she always remembered hearing most about the bridge?
And I just always heard how proud he was that there was no loss of life.
The total price tag was $350,000, and it was complete in only 6 months. It would be more than 50 years before any major improvements would be necessary. The original rusting cable ends were replaced, the bridge towers were improved, and the floor timbers replaced as well. The renovation costs $2.8 million, or about 140% of the original purchase price, accounting for inflation. Fast forward to 2013, while much of the park was destroyed by fire, the Royal Gorge Bridge survived. Only 100 of the 1,270 wooden planks needed to be replaced.
This embodies America the Beautiful right here.
A couple more fun facts about the bridge. The weight of the cables, 300 tons, and the bridge will support approximately 2 million pounds. Lightning is so often the culprit in forest fires, like we saw in 2013. Meteorologist Matt Makins shows us new firefighting technology the state has this year to detect fires faster than ever before.
This is one of 2 aircraft that Colorado owns for fire detection and prevention. This plane can be deployed anywhere within the state and be there within 40 minutes and stay aloft for 6 hours. This sensor here, it can detect a heat source as small as even a baseball from nearly 60 miles away.
In the fire world, wildland fire world, it's pretty new. Somebody gives us GPS coordinates, we can punch it in and cue the ball. It'll go right to that. It'll aim at it, even if we're clear across the state.
There's definitely some deficits.
That somebody Mike mentioned could be meteorologist Tim Mathewson. Tim constantly watches the conditions and may pinpoint an area of interest for the planes to go check out.
Well, we do daily briefings in the summer, and part of the daily briefing is delivering lightning information to the fire community.
These briefings will likely focus on the southwestern corner of the state. That area remains the driest. These recent heavy rains have been focused mostly on the metro areas and the eastern plains. Despite a wetter pattern, more than a third of the state remains in a drought, mostly in the west.
In fact, we've already seen some fire activity out of recent lightning. They have stayed small.
The state's new planes will aim to keep those fires small. The new aviation team can seek out hotspots faster than ever before, relay hotspots to firefighters on the ground, and stop fires before they get out of control.
I think it helps us get the jump on things, so there's no surprises. If we can find them and hit them while they're small, you have a lot better chance of not having a large catastrophic event.
Imagine if we could have prevented the High Park fire back in 2012. It burned more than 135 square miles and destroyed more than 250 structures. That fire started by lightning and smoldered for days before it erupted.
And this way, I mean, we can pick it up.
Since 2012, we've improved our ability to find these fires early on. And there's more good news. Mother Nature has been helping us out some too.
Still better off than they were in 2012. So even the southwest part of the state and the northwest part of the state has received some moisture over the last 4 weeks. They're definitely not as dry as 2012, one of our bigger fire seasons, but there's still an area of concern right now. We still have some wet weeks ahead of us.
So you've been with the family to the Royal Gorge Bridge before and might be wondering why go back. Up next, we'll show you what's new at the park since the devastating fire 2 years ago. The one positive to come from the Royal Gorge fire, all of the improvements that have been made to the park. New rides, new attractions, new venues. So even if you've gone to the Gorge before, it's worth going back.
In 3, 2, 1.
I would say it's not just the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
It's the entire Royal Gorge Bridge and Park experience. That's the draw.
Brand new and can't miss attraction, the zip line across the gorge.
Being over the canyon, that's probably the biggest thrill of it all.
It was an engineering feat, you know, to run 2,400 feet, across this gorge, and not a tremendous difference in level. It's only like a 150-foot drop.
It's the tallest zip line in the U.S., and speeds can reach as high as 45 miles an hour.
The first thing you want to do is, as soon as you get off, is jump on that tram, go back over and ride it again.
Speaking of the tram or gondola, it is back.
That gondola replaced a tram. That's an all-new gondola designed especially for us. You know, 2 clusters of 3 docking on each side at the same time.
Head up, have fun.
Looking for more of an adrenaline rush?
I'm gonna spin you around here.
A 50-mile-an-hour free fall that for a moment has you hanging 1,200 feet over the Arkansas River. Also surviving the fire and back open, the Plaza Theater. Besides live performances inside, you can check out original artifacts and photos from when the bridge was first built.
People can come back. Maybe they came to the Royal Gorge and went to the bridge 5, 10, 50 years ago, but there's all these new attractions, and especially the adventure attractions, that I think will make people really excited to come back and try out. The zip line across the gorge and the, all these exciting kind of adventure attractions that'll bring people back again.
Another feature opening to the public, a new children's playland. There's also plans to rebuild the incline train and a new 6,000-seat amphitheater looking straight at the gorge and bridge to host evening concerts. That's all the time we have. To see more from the Royal Gorge, be sure to check out our website, thedenverchannel.com.